Welcome to Cyber Explain channel. Today we are going to discuss unlocking cloud security, SIEM and ITDR deep dive. Okay, so we've all heard about least privilege, right? The idea is to give users only the access they absolutely need. But in the cloud, especially with sprawling environments and rapid deployments, things can get murky. Sometimes, accounts end up with way more permissions than they should, often without anyone realizing. We call these shadow admin accounts, and they're like that unlocked back door to your entire digital kingdom. This is where Cloud Infrastructure Entitlement Management, or SIEM, swoops in. Think of it as a super smart detective for your cloud. It's not just about listing who has what access, it's about understanding the entitlements. SIEM tools scan your cloud environments like Azure AD, AWS IAM, or GCP IAM to map out every permission, every role, and every granted privilege. It's about getting a crystal clear picture of your cloud's access landscape. Let's walk through a real-world scenario. Imagine a security analyst at a growing tech company using a SIEM tool. They're running a report on their Azure AD environment and bam. The tool flags an account, let's call it SVC, reporting 01. This isn't a regular user account, it's a service account, but it's been granted global administrator privileges. Worse, the SIEM tool shows no recent activity or monitoring logs for this account. It's a classic shadow admin situation. So, our analyst found this rogue global admin. What happens next? The SIEM tool doesn't just report, it helps drive action. The analyst can use the tool to review the specific permissions this SVC reporting 01 account has. They might discover it's only ever supposed to read reporting data. The immediate next step: revoking those unnecessary global admin privileges and potentially reassigning it to a more restricted role, or even disabling it if it's no longer needed. It's about turning that discovery into a concrete security improvement. Beyond just excessive entitlements, cloud environments are rife with configuration issues that can leave the door wide open. Think about public S3 buckets that should be private, unencrypted databases, or overly permissive API gateway configurations. These aren't necessarily identity issues directly, but they create massive vulnerabilities that attackers can exploit once they gain any level of access, or even sometimes without it. Good SIEM platforms don't stop at just entitlements. They often integrate findings from Cloud Security Posture Management, CSPM, tools or have their own checks for common misconfigurations. They'll flag that public S3 bucket or a virtual machine without proper firewall rules. The goal is to give you a consolidated view of all potential identity and access-related risks, whether it's an overly permissive role or an insecure storage configuration. Now, SIEM is fantastic for finding and fixing misconfigurations and excessive permissions. It's proactive. But what about when the bad guys are already in your environment? What if they've already gained a foothold and are trying to move around or escalate their privileges? That's where Identity Threat Detection and Response, or ITDR, comes in. It's the proactive detective meets the reactive incident responder. ITDR solutions are designed to monitor identity-related logs and activities across your critical systems, your identity providers, like Azure AD, Okta, your cloud platforms, AWS, GCP, Azure, and even your on-prem AD if you still have it. They look for suspicious patterns that indicate an attacker is actively trying to compromise or exploit identities. Think of it as an always-on security guard who knows exactly what normal looks like and raises the alarm when something's off. One common attack ITDR is built to detect is credential stuffing. This is where attackers use huge lists of stolen username-password combinations, often from data breaches elsewhere, and try them against your systems. ITDR can spot this by looking for a massive surge of failed login attempts from unusual IPs or successful logins immediately followed by suspicious activity from the same compromised account. Once an attacker is in, they don't want to stay in one place. They'll try to move laterally across your network, hopping from one system or account to another to find more valuable data or higher privileges. ITDR looks for unusual communication patterns between systems, the use of compromised credentials to access new resources, or sudden jumps in activity from a previously quiet account. It's like spotting someone trying to pick a dozen different locks in a building after they've already broken into one office. This is a big one. Attackers want to go from a regular user to an administrator, or even a cloud superadmin. ITDR will monitor for activities like attempts to exploit known vulnerabilities on systems, the use of administrative tools by non-admin accounts, or sudden changes in an account's group memberships or roles. It's all about catching that moment when an attacker tries to grab more power than they should have. So, SIEM finds the doors that are too wide or unlocked, and ITDR watches for people trying to sneak through them or climb over the walls. When you combine them, you get a seriously powerful security posture. Imagine SIEM has already cleaned up a bunch of excessive permissions. Then, ITDR detects a suspicious login attempt that almost succeeded but was blocked because the attacker didn't have MFA set up correctly for that specific resource because SIEM had hardened it. That's synergy. Let's revisit our Azure Shadow Admin example. The SIEM tool flagged SVC, reporting 01 with global admin rights and no activity. The analyst revokes those rights. But what if the attacker had already noticed this account and was planning to use it? ITDR might then detect an attempt to use SVC, reporting 01 to access a sensitive resource, even after the SIEM remediation. Because ITDR is watching logs, it flags this anomalous activity, perhaps an attempt to use it from a new IP address. Now, the security team has a complete picture. SIEM identified the risk, and ITDR caught the attempted exploit, allowing for swift incident response. SIEM solutions typically work by integrating with your cloud provider's APIs, like Azure Resource Graph, AWS Config, GCP IAM API. They query these APIs to retrieve information about identities, roles, policies, and resource configurations. Some might also ingest logs from CloudTrail or audit logs. They then process this data, correlate it, and present it in a dashboard, often using graph databases or sophisticated analytical engines to identify relationships and risks. The magic behind SIEM's ability to see everything in your cloud relies heavily on the cloud provider's APIs. These are essentially standardized ways for different software systems to talk to each other. For Azure, you'll see things like the Microsoft Graph API. For AWS, it's the AWS SDKs and APIs. For GCP, it's the Google Cloud API. These APIs allow SIEM tools to programmatically fetch identity configurations, role assignments, and resource policies, forming the backbone of their data collection. What happens if you are running workloads across Azure, AWS, and GCP? This is where it gets complex. A single SIEM tool might struggle to provide a unified view. You might need a specialized multi-cloud SIEM solution, or you'll need to integrate findings from separate tools. The challenge is correlating identities and entitlements across disparate systems, each with its own API and IAM model. It's like trying to manage one big household inventory when you have 3 separate storage units with different cataloging systems. Attackers actively scan for these misconfigurations. They use tools to find publicly exposed buckets, weak password policies, or accounts with overly broad permissions. A common tactic is to find a forgotten service account with admin rights that hasn't been rotated in years. The attacker gains this credential and suddenly has a golden ticket to your cloud environment. It's a direct exploitation of weak IAM hygiene. Detecting an attack in progress often boils down to identifying anomalous behavior. If a user account that typically accesses only internal HR systems suddenly tries to access sensitive financial data, or if an account starts performing administrative actions it's never done before, those are huge red flags. ITDR solutions are built to establish baselines for normal user and system behavior and alert when deviations occur. What happens when IAM fails? You get situations like the Equifax breach. While complex, a significant factor was the failure to patch a critical vulnerability and then likely an inability to quickly revoke access or contain the damage once the breach began. On a smaller scale, it's when an ex-employee still has access, or when a phishing attack successfully compromises a user with elevated privileges, leading to widespread data loss or system compromise. It's the failure to have robust processes and timely enforcement. This is where the defense-in-depth concept really shines. SIEM builds the first layer, ensuring your cloud foundations are solid, with appropriate permissions and secure configurations. ITDR adds the next layer, constantly monitoring for active threats that might bypass those initial defenses. They complement each other perfectly. A misconfiguration found by SIEM might prevent an attack ITDR would later detect, or ITDR might alert you to an attempt to exploit a vulnerability that SIEM helped you patch. When we talk about protocols for SIEM and ITDR in the cloud, it's primarily about how these tools interact with cloud-native IAM systems and services. This means understanding how tools like Azure AD Graph API, AWS IAM APIs, and Google Cloud IAM APIs function. For ITDR, it's about ingesting logs using protocols like syslog or cloud-native logging services, example, Azure Monitor, AWS CloudWatch logs. Understanding these underlying communication methods is crucial for effective implementation and troubleshooting. Many organizations use identity federation, like SAML or OpenID Connect, to allow users to log in once and access multiple cloud applications. While convenient, this adds complexity. If a federated identity is compromised, it can grant access to many resources. SIEM and ITDR tools need to be able to understand these federated relationships and monitor activities originating from federated identities effectively. It's like having a master key that opens many doors. You need to be extra careful about who holds it and how they use it. In the cloud, lateral movement can look different than on-prem. An attacker might compromise an EC2 instance, then use its IAM role to access an S3 bucket, then pivot to an RDS database using leaked credentials found in the instance. Or in Azure, they might compromise a user account and use it to enumerate Azure AD groups, looking for higher privilege roles or compromised service principals. SIEM helps identify the roles and permissions that *enable *this, while ITDR spots the *act of moving between resources. Advanced security teams use data from both SIEM and ITDR to hunt for threats that might not trigger automated alerts. They can query SIEM data to find accounts with suspiciously broad permissions and then use ITDR logs to see if those accounts have exhibited any unusual behavior. This proactive hunting is crucial for finding those sophisticated, low and slow attacks that might otherwise go unnoticed. A common failure mode, especially for ITDR, is inadequate log retention. If your cloud provider or your logging solution only keeps audit logs for a week and an attacker has been quietly operating for a month before detection, you've lost crucial forensic data. You can't effectively determine how they got in, what they did, or how to fully clean up. Good IAM security relies on having enough historical data to reconstruct events. ITDR solutions use various detection engines. These can include signature-based detection, looking for known malicious patterns, anomaly detection, deviations from baselines, behavioral analysis, understanding user and entity behavior, and correlation engines that tie together multiple low-fidelity events into a high-fidelity alert. They often leverage machine learning to improve their accuracy over time. When you integrate SIEM and ITDR with your cloud identity, you are often dealing with the same protocols that drive modern web authentication. SAML and OIDC are fundamental for federated access. OAuth is key for delegated access, especially for service-to-service or application-to-application interactions. Understanding how these protocols work and how they impact identity data flow is vital for both securing your environment and detecting misuse. We often focus on human identities, but machines, VMs, containers, serverless functions also have identities and permissions in the cloud. SIEM tools need to account for these machine identities and their entitlements, as they can be just as, if not more, powerful and vulnerable. ITDR should also monitor for anomalous behavior from these machine identities. Forgetting about machine identities is like leaving the garage door opener on the doorstep. The whole point of least privilege is to limit the blast radius if an account is compromised. Attackers actively look for violations of this principle. If a regular user account, through a misconfiguration or poor role design, can access sensitive data or perform administrative actions, the attacker will exploit that. SIEM helps identify these violations, and ITDR can detect the attempt to leverage them. For true enterprise-level security, SIEM and ITDR solutions don't operate in a vacuum. They integrate with your security information and event management (SIEM) systems to enrich alerts and provide a broader context. They also feed into security orchestration, automation, and response (SOAR) platforms, allowing for automated playbooks to respond to detected threats, such as automatically revoking access or isolating a compromised cloud resource. While automation is key, over-reliance can be dangerous. If your SIEM tool automates the provisioning but the integration with a critical application fails silently, you might have accounts that should have been removed lingering. Or, if ITDR automation triggers a massive access revocation for a false positive, it can cause significant business disruption. Human oversight and well-defined exception handling are critical. This isn't a one-and-done deal. SIEM and ITDR require continuous monitoring. Your cloud environment is dynamic, and so are threats. Regularly review SIEM findings, ensure your ITDR rules are tuned, and conduct periodic audits of both systems. Treat your cloud identity security like a living, breathing system that needs constant attention and refinement. So, to wrap it up, SIEM and ITDR are not just buzzwords. They are essential pillars of a robust cloud identity security strategy. SIEM fortifies your defenses by fixing misconfigurations and excessive permissions, while ITDR acts as your vigilant guardian, detecting and responding to active threats. By integrating these powerful capabilities, you can build a truly resilient and secure cloud environment. It's about moving beyond basic access controls to a proactive, intelligence-driven approach to cloud IAM. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the CyberExplain channel. See you on the next video.